Today we're going to talk about Godot release cycles. This is a topic that's come up a few times. People have been curious about, how does Godot actually release updates? What's the process behind it? What's the magic? Seems like there was a huge gap between, for instance, Godot 4.2 and 4.3, and I hope to educate you on why. So before we can get into the Godot release cycle, we have to go over some foundations, and one of those is semantic versioning. So if you haven't heard about semantic versioning before, here's a high-level overview. Semantic versioning basically means that the version of the software is broken down into major, minor, and patch. So you might see this as, game 1.2.7. A major version is when you make incompatible API changes. So, using version 3 and the current version is 4, you're going to have a bad time with, let's say if it's a game, the server. But more likely this is a business-to-business software, so it's incompatible with the files you save from a previous version, let's say. Minor is when they add some new functionality, but it should not break backwards compatibility. And then the final number is the patch. That's if you haven't necessarily added any new features or any breaking changes, but you're purely fixing a bug from the previous minor release. Alright, so now that we got that out of the way, something to note is this isn't the only type of versioning that could be used in software. Obviously you can pick any version you want when you version your software, and there are other popular techniques like calendar-based versioning. Sometimes you'll see software called 2024.9.6, and where that's popular is with software that has support windows, as it makes the age of the release very clear. And that's actually the versioning I prefer. So let's continue now with how does Godot do versioning? Well, they loosely follow the semantic versioning strategy, and they call a major and a minor version a stable release or a stable branch on Git. So remember back 2 slides, a minor release shouldn't have breaking changes, but this is where the loosely comes in. There still are, as quoted above, opportunities for breaking changes in a minor update. So one simple example is here. They might release a minor update that renames a parameter in a function. In GDScript, won't cause an issue. In C# that will cause a breaking change. So they're not guaranteeing that minor updates break nothing. You still have to do your due diligence when you update your project. Now, patch releases are almost always safe to update. You should always be using the latest patch release of the current Godot stable release you're developing against. Alright, so we've talked about semantic versioning, we talked about Godot versioning. There's also stages during development for an upcoming release that we're going to go over. So the first phase, it has an official name. I'm going to call it the harvesting phase because one of the founders of Godot referred to it as such in this tweet. So it lasts approximately 3 months long. Now I'll put a caveat that the last time this happened, it went way past 3 months. But this is when they're basically merging in all the net new changes that the community has been waiting on to get into the next release. In this phase is when they're releasing dev snapshots. One thing to note is dev snapshots are not designed to be used for active development. They're meant to be used to help debug issues with these incoming changes. But I feel like a lot of people ignore that last part. The next phase is the bug fixing phase. So they basically freeze all new PRs, all new merges, and they focus on fixing this new combination of changes into the main branch. And again, this is targeted to be about 1 month long. I believe with Godot 4.3, it went past 1 month. So these are loose guidelines of what they try to do. And in this phase, they release betas and release candidates. So we're past the bug fixing phase. They've got the stamp of approval. 4.3 is ready. What happens? Well, the stable release will get its own branch in Git. The branch 4.3 will then be used basically for backporting and releasing additional patch updates to 4.3, while main will now be used for Godot 4.4, which it's used for right now as of September 2024. So here's some examples of some Godot versions and Git branches that are currently receiving updates. So you can see the master branch. I actually forget if it's master or main currently, but we'll call it master because that's what I have in the slide. The master branch is in development. This is where they're merging in active PRs and fixes. While 4.3, 4.2, 4.1, they're receiving backported fixes. A backport is basically a PR that was targeting the master branch, which they're going to also apply to some of those stable release branches, so that they could then put out a patch release. So people that are firm on sticking to 4.2, for example, still get some of the benefit of the active development. Interesting thing to note is that there's still interest in the 3.0 major release, so as long as there is, 3.6 will still get feature updates and fixes, not just backported fixes. Alright, so the next topic is proposals. What is a proposal? A proposal is where people propose and discuss potential new features and changes to Godot. They generally live in the Godot proposals GitHub project, and the priority of what gets implemented and what doesn't, it depends on a few things, but user feedback heavily dictates that. Two things I would recommend you guys check out is the Godot Proposal Viewer web app, where you could get a nice UI for seeing really popular proposals in the community right now, and then actually checking out the Godot Proposals project in GitHub. Alright, so let's take a look at the Godot Proposal Viewer. Once you get to the site, you can see you could search and you could sort by popularity. One thing you'll notice is a lot of the top proposals has to do with expansion of the GDScript language. So as an example, this top one I'm very excited about is adding static hints for dictionaries. Quick explanation, you may or may not know, dictionaries in Godot, right now they just expect keys and values to be variants, and you can basically plop whatever you want in there. This person is suggesting we optionally allow for you to define exactly what the key is and what the value could be. So a lot like generics in other languages, you would say, I'm actually making a dictionary of string with a value of int. And then at compile time, you'll get compile time errors if you're trying to put other types of objects in there. So it gives you a little bit of type safety, and that's definitely something I would opt into. So keep this in mind. This is a very popular proposal because this is actually something that we can talk about in the PR stage next. So once a proposal has been accepted, someone will come along and implement that change. Once the change is ready for feedback, the author will create a pull request in GitHub. These pull requests exist in the Godot project in GitHub. One fun thing to do is to go to the current project and sort all PRs by popularity. I do this by looking for the most thumbs up reactions. And if you do that, what you'll find is the top PR as of today is the type dictionaries that we talked about as a proposal. So that proposal is accepted, and this PR is currently being reviewed. So this is something I'm very excited about. It's actually tagged as a 4.4 milestone, so hopefully, fingers crossed, this will get in the next release. So once you go inside the PR, you can see a high-level explanation of exactly how it's implemented. So now you're going to see things like more than mockups, actual implementation details in C++, and UI changes in the Godot editor. Furthermore, as the author gets feedback, they generally lay out the feedback in a logical way, and in this case, over the course of the last year of feedback, this author has gone through point by point and proven that they've handled and reacted to that feedback. Alright, so here's an example of me basically doing my morning routine because I'm just so excited about changes to Godot. I'll go in here, go into sort by thumbs up, and I'll change the milestone to 4.4. Here's the type dictionary PR that I had in my slide, and jump in and let's take a look where it is. So this one's very close to getting merged. I've been following this one for a while, and it's just a back and forth between the maintainers and the author, really just going over those last little changes being requested. It seems like the author continuously rebases his changes, so it's not actually clear to me what changes day to day. If you actually look at the change set, you'll actually just see this entire change that's being applied. So it looks like this will make it in the next few weeks, and we'll be enjoying some type dictionaries in the next dev snapshot of 4.4. And that's pretty much it. One thing I'd recommend if you want to stay updated to the latest goings on in the Godot codebase is check out the official Discord and take a look at the GitHub updates channel. For a more humorous channel, also check out the Waiting for Godot channel. That one is probably my favorite. You can expect a daily update on everything that happens in Godot. So I hope you learned a little bit about what goes into making a Godot release and how you can be a better informed user, consumer, and hopefully contributor to the Godot project.